James, good morning.
And a good morning to you, Robert. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, and really excited to have an update conversation with you, Guanajuato Silver CEO and Chairman James Anderson. Um, it's a pleasure, and we timed it reasonably well with silver making a breakout the last couple days.
Yeah, I think that's right. Robert. I mean, just before we go on, I want all of the listeners to know that you've been following our story for several years, back to when the company was called Vangold, and we changed the name, got involved with Guanajuato Silver, with the mines in Guanajuato. So you are in a position to be able to comment on the story and the growth better than just about any other observer. And for everybody's information, Robert has been to Guanajuato, been into the mines of Guanajuato, and met our team there as well. So I think you've got a set of information and experience that is very helpful for people to evaluate what we're doing in Guanajuato.
Yeah, that's true. I've been following this company in its various permutations since I believe it was exactly 4 years ago. It was either April or May 2020. And in that first year, it was, I believe, my second biggest win, maybe ever. It was almost a 10x move as you got pretty fortunate with the market timing in 2020. And then the company went through a tremendous transformation, acquiring Cubo and more assets in the Guanajuato region of Mexico. So, it's a cyclical business, James. It's a cyclical sector. And just the last 4 years, there have been some tremendous ups and downs in gold, in silver, in the mining shares more broadly, and in your share price. The fortunes have turned both ways many times over and over again.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
You said 4 years, Rob. Yeah, how about 4 weeks?
Yeah, 4 weeks. So that's exactly my next question. So end of February, everybody's getting ready to go to PDAC. Silver's 22 and change, and Guanajuato silver shares are meandering, I don't know, 16, 17 cents. Pretty low, you
Yep.
know, like a 52-week low, I think, actually. And suddenly in the last month, silver has gone from 22.50 to 27, and your share price has picked up substantially. First question, what does that mean to the company to see silver go from 22.50 to 27, to see gold go from 21 to 23? How does that affect the finances of the company?
Yeah, it's immense. And it's immense for us for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we are a relatively high cost producer, and when the metals perform like they have over the last 6 weeks, well, what is it that you want to own? Well, you actually want to own the marginal producers, and certainly for the first couple of years of our production history, that's what we are. That's what we've been. So the difference between 22 and, I don't know, 26 or 27 is absolutely enormous for us. But Rob, let me just take a moment too, just to give the listeners a little bit more background there. We bought our first mine in Guanajuato about 3 years ago. We then bought three other mines and two other production facilities from Great Panther. So we like to call ourselves Mexico's fastest growing silver mining company. I think we bought all of those assets really inexpensively, but they were all fixer-uppers. They all required additional capital. And the idea, the notion that I felt a couple of years ago was that the price of the metals, especially silver, was going to go higher. And certainly throughout 2023, that was not the case. And so, we were struggling with finding the capital necessary to put the mines back into production in a professional way. We pedaled really, really hard and really fast, and got ourselves into a spot in the first quarter here now that production is back on track, climbing higher. And now that prices for the metals have gone up, about 45% of our revenue is silver, about 45% of our revenue is gold, and the other 10% from base metals. But we're in really, really good shape. And so to circle back to your question, what does it mean for $26 or $27 silver from 22? With the company that I just described, with Guanajuato Silver, it's immense, and a lot of that money just flows right down to the bottom line.
Yeah, I think most people on this call know a bit about the company, but for those that are fairly new to it, this is one of the oldest silver mining regions of the country in Mexico. I mean, the Spanish found silver here in the 1500s. It was a very active mining area throughout the 17th and 18th century. And today, it's very much a mining town, although it's a beautiful town that has a tremendous amount of tourism and history. Mining is clearly a very key part of the fabric of daily life um, in this area. And you've consolidated a number of key assets here. Can you just run down a little bit about the mines the company owns and how they're doing right now?
Yeah, so the consolidation of the Guanajuato Mining District, that was really key to the thesis about executing this consolidation over the last few years. When I first went to Guanajuato, what then that goes back about 5 years ago now. What I realized was that this tremendous silver mining district had really been carved up and divvied up into a number of different companies' hands. And that seemed to me to be the recipe for consolidation in the district and in one company. So currently, we control about 40% of all the mining claims within Guanajuato. The other big holder of claims and assets in the Guanajuato district is Fresnillo. Fresnillo does not have any active operations. And for those of you who don't know, Fresnillo is the largest silver mining company in the world. Their shares are listed on the London Stock Exchange. I think they've got about a $6 or $7 billion market cap. So that that's to some degree our competition for assets. But I think that in the future that can be a very cooperative situation as well. So we bought our first mine in the Guanajuato district from Endeavour Silver, put that back into production just within 4 months' time. And then 2 other mines came with the Great Panther transaction, the Valenciana Mines Complex and San Ignacio. Valenciana is the old mine, the old series of mines right in Guanajuato. And as you mentioned, Rob, people have been mining there for 450 years, since about 60 years after Columbus bumped into North America accidentally. The Spanish have been mining in that area, so the mines are old. And yet at Valenciana, and I was there for a couple of weeks, just about 10 days ago, went underground at Valenciana, and the geologists are showing me all of the new discoveries, new parts of the mine to be able to not only extract ore but explore for more ore. That's really exciting for me, and to be able to, I see Guanajuato Silver as sort of carrying the baton of this fantastic old mine for a period of time. We don't know what will happen years from now, but those series of mines at Valenciana have been in production virtually nonstop for 450 years, and I don't see any reason why it's not going to continue to produce silver and gold for another 100 years.
Okay. So let's dig into, El Cubo and what the company has been doing there, because that's obviously the main mining operation that you're focused on. And I know you've been moving into some, I guess, newer areas or rehabbing some areas of that mining complex where there's some higher grades. How is that work, coming along?
Yeah, okay. So we do have three different production facilities. El Cubo, the plant, is certainly larger than the other two plants at Topia and at Valenciana. However, right now I would say that El Cubo, produces about the same amount of concentrate as Valenciana and Topia in a on a revenue basis and on a gold and silver equivalent basis. Endeavor Silver, I think, built the plant too big for the mine at El Cubo. And that was a challenge for them, and it's been a challenge for us. We've augmented that challenge by taking material from various other places, third-party producers within the Guanajuato area, to try and maximize the excess capacity that we've got at El Cubo, and from our own mines as well, including one called El Orcon, which we haven't spoken of a whole bunch. It's another mine within the general Guanajuato area. It's a little bit further away. It's about 65 kilometers away from the city of Guanajuato. But the old stockpiled material, the old material that did not make grade 100 years ago, we've been trucking that material for a number of months, and it's very good grade, and and supports very much being able to um, fill up the plant on a daily and monthly basis. To your point, Rob, about okay, so are we able to access different higher grade areas within the El Cubo operation and the Villalpando mine, which is the southern part of El Cubo specifically? Yes, and we've been there's a lot of like, it's a big mine. It's been around for over 100 years as well. At one uh, point in the southern part of the mine, there's 27 different levels. Now, when we bought the mine from Endeavor, they had allowed the bottom 15 levels or so in that area to flood. And when we first bought the mine, we had other things to do and other places to extract mineralized material, so we didn't go after that area. We started dewatering that area about 6 months ago. And when I was there a couple of weeks ago, I was underground with our engineers looking at exactly where we're going to be starting to extract the higher grade material. And it is significantly higher grade in that area. We generally mine an average grade at Villapando that's maybe between 170 and 200 silver equivalent. The stuff that I'm talking about is about 350 silver equivalent. So just taking a couple hundred tons a day out of that area, which we should be able to start doing here in just the next couple of weeks, that will change I don't know, it'll change the profitability of the whole operation, just adding that amount of higher grade material.
So that's going to be a very positive, advancement for the company to be able to get to that 300 gram per ton ore body. How big is that? I mean, just ballpark. How much ore is there to extract, and how much could that potentially ramp up your total output there?
Yeah, so I think within the resource that we've got there, it's about 80,000 tons. There's another area that's the same but different, lower down at Villapando, but more in the central area, which is larger. I believe it's 175,000 tons. We'll be able to access that soon as well. Not at quite not quite as high grade, but certainly higher grade than the average that we've been mining so far.
Okay. Do you, I we spoke at the end of last year in Florida, and you said you felt like the company is turning the corner after a challenging year. How do you feel right now?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I feel like we're one of the Warner Brothers cartoon characters. You know, when they run really really fast but don't go anywhere for a second or two, and then they take off. Last year we had a number of different challenges, and that showed up in our third quarter production, where up until that time, every quarter, quarter over quarter, we were hitting new all-time highs, all-time records for the company in terms of production, and we had this ramp-up phase. We then ran into a number of different hurdles at all the different operations that declined, and with a correspondent, much larger average costs in the mine and all-in sustaining costs in this first quarter. And I can't talk too many specifics right now. We'll be putting out a news release on this in just the next few days. But the first quarter production is really, really good. And I think that observers will be able to look at that and go, yes, they are back on track. Guanajuato Silver is back on track to continue this growth profile that it had set for itself for the last few years.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you make. And that's always the challenging when you grow quickly. Can you keep up the growth? And then especially, when the growth goes from 2 million to 3 million to 4 million, you know, 4 million ounces of silver equivalent in such a short period of time, then people are asking, well, when do we get to 5 million, 6 million, 7 million?
Right.
And sometimes it just doesn't work like that, because this is, like, these are ore bodies, and it takes time to get them, ready for that stage of extraction. And especially, when you're underground, you have to do things very carefully. There's a process, a lot of safety involved, and sometimes it just doesn't happen that fast.
Well, everything you say is spot on, and I mean, let's talk about safety first, right? I mean, it's all fun and games to be able to say, okay, well, let's go down there and we'll just start extracting mineralized material and make some money on it. But we employ about 1,300 people in Mexico, and the safety of our underground miners is of paramount importance to the company. 100% of the people who work for us in Mexico are Mexican. We're very proud of that, and we just underground mining is going to be dangerous no matter what you do, but we take it very very seriously that we're sending important people who have families and loved ones underground, and we need to be very very careful about their safety. So there's that aspect of it, and there's also the um, it's been said by a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. Mining is a capital intensive business. We bought a lot of fixer uppers. They all were capital starved. We've done a good job, but in an environment where capital's been really really hard to come by, and so we've done our best in that. But I think that the market has changed markedly in just the last few weeks. We're not going to be as starved because we're simply going to be getting significantly more money for our gold and silver than we have in the past.
Let me ask you a question more from the side of being a CEO, being a manager of this large company. I know you spend half your time in Canada and half your time in Mexico. How is it being from Canada and being involved in a company that employs almost entirely Mexicans?
Right. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of different aspects to that. From For historical reasons, the capital gets formed in Canada on the Canadian stock exchanges. That's something that Canadians have done. Really, there's only two or three things, Robert, that Canadians do better than everybody else in the world. Forming small mining companies and going and exploring and extracting minerals all over the world. Canadians do that really well. I was born in a small Canadian mining town called Timmins. Our our ability and desire to be able to export that expertise to other parts of the world, I think is great. That having been said, I think if you look at other expatriate companies, whether they're from Canada, the United States, Australia, or Britain, they go to Latin America. Generally, they bring their own management layer to be able to direct traffic in Latin America. Our position in Guanajuato and in Mexico generally, we don't believe that we need that. The Mexican team that we've organized has lots of experience. That includes Ramon Davila, Hernan Dorado, and just recently Carlos Silva, who has an extraordinary CV, success everywhere he's gone in terms of leading the operations of these Mexican, and Carlos has also done a lot of work in Bolivia as well. So we have a team that I think is the envy of all of the other small producers in Mexico. And that what can I say? I'm very proud that we've attracted that level of mining talent to our company.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I was there last April at
Right.
Cubo and some of the other mining operations there, and I was very impressed. I visited a lot of projects. And I've gone underground, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, and for some reason I felt extremely safe, going underground
Right.
there, going 300 meters down. When you think about it, it's a little scary, but it felt very comfortable for some reason.
Well,
And
the
obviously,
best thing to do is just not think about it very much.
yeah. Well, when we started going down, I started thinking about it, and then at some point, I just became very comfortable and started to focus on the gold and silver. Um, Slide 8 in your corporate presentation shows your quarterly output, and Q4 of 2021, you're at 235,000 ounces. You peaked at 941,000 in Q2 of 2023. So that was a very high growth stage, for the company. And then you had Q3 and Q4 of 2023, which was a modest step back. The market wasn't happy. But here you are now. Are we back in the ramp up phase, and are we poised to have a 1 million ounce quarter in 2024?
Yeah, so I have to be careful about how many numbers I give out in a forum like this. But the short answer is yes. I believe that our first quarter numbers, which will be out fairly soon, will rival the best ones on that slide. Um, and I think the way that you structure the question, Rob, is exactly spot on. I think the market will be able to sense what I sense, and what I've sensed for the last number of months is that we have turned that corner. We've fixed a number of the problems, addressed a number of the issues at the various mines, and we're back on track to that growth, which up until the third quarter of last year, I think looked remarkably uniform. And then, which is very natural with small growing companies, especially with some of the capital allocation problems that I was talking about. But with that behind us, yeah, I think we can continue that ramp up into the quarters of 2024, certainly.
I got some questions from shareholders, so I'll throw a couple at you, and I'll also take a question from the audience. If somebody would like to ask James a question, please ask to speak, and I'll unmute you. We got a few minutes left here. So a couple shareholders asked the exact same question, so I
Right.
got to throw this at you. U.S. dollar, Mexican peso exchange rate, probably one of your least favorite topics to talk about, because I know it's been a real headwind the last couple of years. The Mexican peso was at 20 to 1 in 2022, and today it's almost at 16 to 1. So that's a 20% hit to your Forex translation there as you exchange from dollars to pesos. What is that, just still a headwind for the company, or have you hedged it, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, well, so First of all, let me just further explain that situation for your listeners in case they don't quite get it. We make silver and gold concentrate. We sell that and we get U.S. dollars, but 75% of our expenditures are in Mexican pesos. And so if you look at if you look at the peso price of gold, let's say, well, the price of gold in pesos has not gone up nearly what it's gone up in dollars. So we can look at gold and silver prices and go, wow, they're really, really high. Well, not in pesos so much, strangely. The Mexican peso has been one of, if not the strongest currencies on the planet for the last 2 or 3 years. So has that been a headwind? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Can we hedge it? We can, but that's expensive. The type of hedging that we do, which is really selling calls against the U.S. dollar Mexican peso equivalent, that's provided some extra money for us, but it doesn't really quite do the trick. Uh, uh, Doing that the way that maybe we should have is expensive. However, it certainly would have been the right thing to do. However, I know a couple of years ago there wasn't one person that I asked, and I asked a lot of different financial advisors. What do you think about the peso? No one guessed that it would be this strong. So I think that it's a story that's more or less behind us. But we'll have to wait and see. The one thing that I do, because people ask me, well, why is the peso so strong? My answer these days, Rob, is that, well, the socialists in Mexico City actually spend less money than the socialists in Washington D.C. or the socialists in Ottawa. So one can expect their currency perhaps to remain strong. But I think it's a story that's mostly behind us.
I'll make a little joke. The reason why the peso is so strong is because there's so many dollars flowing south to buy drugs from the cartels.
Well, I've had lots of different theories thrown at me. That would be one of them. The whole nearshoring thing, I think,
Yeah, nearshoring is a big one. Yeah.
yeah. So I think whereas a lot of American manufacturing previously had gone to the Far East, especially China, I think because of a lot of the new tariffs and different rules, people have been looking at Mexico as a place to build factories, cheaper manufacturing for export into the United States. Um, I, so that's a good reason. But I think that with this new exchange rate, I think that the rationale for doing that has been curtailed significantly. So I would expect that to stop going forward.
Well, I have you here. I'm gonna throw a few more questions at you. Is your main focus on just getting to the 4 million ounces and above in 2024 and really taking care of your current mining operations? Or are you looking to expand and explore with some of your cash?
Both. So let's tackle the first part of the question. The growth, yes, but a big focus over the last several months and will continue is cost control. I think a rapidly growing company sometimes isn't particularly good at that, and I think we've got to get better at that, and we are getting better at that. So I think cost controls within that growth profile, within that organic growth profile that we've seen on our quarter by quarter growth in the past, and I'm confident that we'll be able to talk about seeing that again, within just the next few days as we'll be able to discuss the production in the first quarter. So there's that. However, the company grew really rapidly through acquisition. There's lots and lots of different opportunities in Mexico right now to continue to grow the company. And a lot of that is because of a lot of the challenges that we've talked about. So there are people who have thrown up their hands and said, well, Mexico is just, because of the new cost structures, a little bit too challenging to work in. and that has provided opportunities for us in the past, and I think that provides opportunities for us now and in the future as well. So one must embrace the idea that you want to be mining silver and gold in Mexico, and we do. We embrace that. There will be challenges, but if you look at how quickly we've been able to take mines that were generally shut down for a brief period of time, put them back into production, back online, and start processing mineralized material into silver and gold again. If you compare that with permitting challenges in every other jurisdiction in the world, I think Mexico comes out pretty good. So there are other opportunities. We are looking at them. I don't think that there's anything imminent, Robert, but there are certainly lots of different opportunities in Mexico.
Yeah, there's no shortage of opportunities, actually.
Right.
There's an abundance of opportunities.
Right.
And there's a lot of silver, a lot of gold, too. In the last few days with the silver move, I've been getting some text messages from various CEOs, your peers, telling me why their company is the most silvery company of them all, and it offers the most torque to the upside in the silver price. I'm looking at the Guanajuato silver chart, and since the first day of March, so basically 1 month ago, it looks like you've got almost a double. I would say it's a 90% gain.
Right.
And silver is up about 20% over that time frame. So that's about a 4 to 5x torque to the silver price. That's a lot of torque.
Right.
Um, is that translated into your bottom line? I mean, at like $27 silver, are you guys spitting out some free cash flow here?
Well, I think $27. To be fair, we've had $27 for about 48 hours, so I'm not quite sure yet that that number is applicable for discussion. But as I said earlier, the difference between 22 or 23 and 25 and 26 for us, yeah, it's a big difference, and it does flow right to the bottom line. Um, there's a lag, and we have to dig up the mineralized material, crush it, grind it, turn it into concentrate, send it to Manzanillo, that's the port in Mexico, and then get paid for it some days later. So there is a lag, but certainly, yeah, it happens really quickly. With your comment about sort of who's the most silvery, and I don't want to name names and talk about which ones are and which ones aren't, but for Guanajuato Silver, again, about 45% of actually, let me back up for a second. So in Mexico, most of the mines are silver, lead, zinc. And so there's a silver component, certainly, but then a large base metal component. The mines in Guanajuato are not like that. They're almost exclusively gold and silver. And then we have our other mine, which is doing really well in Durango, in Topia, and it's more of a traditional mix of traditional epithermal mix for central Mexico, where the value is really silver, lead, zinc, and some gold. But on a corporate basis, 45% of our revenues come from gold, 45% from silver, and about 10% from base metals. So I would suggest when you look around that that's as silvery as it gets, really. Most of the silver mines in the world have a substantial amount of base metals with them. So we're different than that, and I think if you want a precious metals company with a big silver component, I think Guanajuato Silver stands up to the best of them.
All right. I don't see any questions from the audience, so I'm going to throw one more question at you, and if you'd like to add anything else to conclude our chat, go ahead. How is the company in terms of cash in the treasury right now, and do you anticipate any near-term financing needs?
So we've got a couple $1 million in cash in the company currently. It's easy to look back over the last 4 or 6 months and see what we've done in terms of drawing additional capital, mostly from our lenders and mostly from Ocean Partners, which is the company who we sell about 80% of our concentrates to. So they've been very helpful in providing capital for us, and I think that that's a good comment on other shareholders, other observers, because Ocean Partners knows our company as as well as anybody, receiving our concentrates on a not quite daily, but on several times a week. So there's that situation. With regards to our future capital desires, needs, plans, I'd just rather not comment on it right now. Most of our listeners here today, Robert, I think are Americans, and I'm very sensitive to SEC rules regarding forward-looking statements regarding financings.
Okay, got it. And before I let you go, I got another question from a shareholder.
Sure.
I love to ask this question because it's been asked so many times over the last couple of years. When are you going to drill the Veta Madre?
Well, yeah, okay. So what that question is pertaining to is our Penguico property. That was the first property that we had in the Guanajuato area. We then went on to buy a real mine in El Cubo, and then two other mines, one of which is Valenciana. Well, we own the best producing 4.5 kilometers of Veta Madre that exist. So we continue to drill holes into and around Veta Madre. Now, to be fair, the listener is asking, when are we going to drill that contact between the Veta Madre at El Penguico and Fresnillo's Las Torres operation, and where the Veta Madre intersects the Penguico vein, which, I'm an explorationist at heart. I love that target. We did try to drill it about 3 years ago, and we got about 400 or 500 meters down in the drill hole, and then ran into a fault and lost the hole. That was disappointing, and that was just about when silver started to move down in price. We've had all kinds of other necessities about where to spend money. So I'd like to drill that target again as well. What I'd really like to do is to ask our friends at Fresnillo to be able to drill it from underground from Las Torres, because that's actually the best place to drill that target from. So I'm hoping that we could get something like that done. But failing that, do we want to drill that this year? I do. Can we do it with our other capital constraints and the needs to be able to invest in the company as we continue to ramp up production at all of our other mines? I don't know. I'm just, I'm a little fuzzy on that, and things change as we've talked about oftentimes here this morning, Robert. Things change fast, right? Like, what if we've got $32 silver in 3 months? That changes again in a quantum basis the amount of money that our company is making from mining silver and gold, and then those decisions become very easy indeed.
Okay. I think that's a great place to leave it. So I think I heard you say we can expect a quarterly update in the next week. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, James Anderson, CEO, Guanajuato Silver. I really appreciate your time. I'm glad I could pop your cherry here on X, and we'll do it again soon.
Rob, thanks so much for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure. And yes, let's do it again soon. That'd be fun.
All right, cheers. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I will post this on my YouTube in the next few days. Have a great day.
Thank you.